Hey pros, Crystal here from Elite Hair Care USA. So tonight's conversation is going to be all about alopecia areata. A lot of you don't even have a clue what alopecia areata is. So during the video, I will actually put up a diagram that will show you guys exactly what alopecia areata can look like when it's starting. Of course, that is just a kind of simple diagram, but we're going to just dive straight in. What is alopecia areata? So alopecia areata is a form of alopecia, but alopecia areata is one of those things that is broken down into 4 different types. So when I say 4 different types, meaning just because you have alopecia areata, that doesn't mean that it is always going to be the same. It is going to be the difference. There's going to be a difference from person to person, from case to case, okay? Alopecia areata is actually one of the alopecias that is extremely common amongst the families of traction alopecia or even female pattern baldness. Now, what does alopecia areata look like? Typically, alopecia areata means patchy. That's really all. So alopecia, as we know, that is a meaning for hair loss, and then areata means patchy. So usually they start out, or the patches will start out as dime to quarter size patches. They love to kind of hide behind these areas here. Sometimes you might see 1 or 2 in the nape, sometimes here. You don't really see alopecia areata progress so much into the crown, but if it does, it also can resemble what we call female pattern baldness, which can also become very confusing because a lot of you think that everything means female pattern baldness when really it can be a different form of alopecia. And also you can have multiple forms of alopecia all in one head. But we're not going to go too deep into that, okay? So alopecia areata is something that you can develop whether you are a child or an adult. There is no age range for alopecia areata. It's one of those things where it is considered to be autoimmune. For those of you that don't know what autoimmune means, it basically means that your body attacks your hair follicles and assumes it to be something bad, and it starts to kill off those follicles, or those follicles start to die out very quickly. So that is the reason why we call it autoimmune. It is a viral thing, okay? It's like a bacteria or a viral infection. It's not something that you can necessarily put your finger on it. Let's say it that way. And it can also be anywhere on the body that hair grows. So it doesn't necessarily have to just be in the head. It can be in the arms, it could be the armpits, it could be in other places. And most of the time we really don't notice because all we care about is the hair that's on our beautiful heads, right? But alopecia areata can affect many, many other areas. It can develop anywhere. It can be in your beard. You might see that your husband has a quarter size patch in his beard. It can be in your eyebrows where you're missing patches. It can be in your armpits. It can be in your nose. It can even be in your ears, you guys. So that is the main type of alopecia areata, which is exactly what it is. Alopecia areata. Then there's alopecia totalis. Alopecia totalis basically means that you lose all of the hair on your scalp and you are completely bald. This is also becoming very common in women, but we'll talk about why in just a moment. But alopecia totalis is one where you're just completely bald on your scalp and your scalp only, so you have no hair. Then, and I said 4 types, but it's really 3. Then there's alopecia universalis. Alopecia universalis is total hair loss throughout the entire head. So your eyebrows, your mustache, your beard, your hair, the arms. You kind of look like one of those cats. I think it's called a Sphinx cat. That is someone who has alopecia universalis. Is it common? It can be, but sometimes you don't really notice because those people have learned to kind of like, fix it wherever and make it in a disguise, that kind of thing, because it can really affect your self-esteem. So alopecia areata is one of those things where it's a very broad spectrum type of alopecia, but the good thing about alopecia areata is it has a greater success of hair regrowing, just like traction alopecia, than it does for female pattern baldness. So traction alopecia, if caught at the right time, is absolutely reversible if caught in the right time. Alopecia areata, same thing. If caught and beginning treatment at the right time, while it is not one of those things that can quickly go away, if caught, treated, and handled in the right way within the right timing, you have a greater success of being able to rejuvenate some of the follicles that were lost in that area, which we'll talk a little bit more about that in this video today. So one thing that I do want to point out, genetically, if a parent has alopecia areata, it is a very high chance, but also it can be a low chance that your child could later on can later on have issues with alopecia areata as well. Remember, this is autoimmune, so it's something that you cannot touch. It's in the blood. It's in the system, okay? So, of course, if you give birth to a child, that does not mean that the child is going to automatically have alopecia areata going forward. But genetically, it could pass itself down the line. And you could have also genetically gotten it from someone within your bloodline, and so on and so forth. So it's not something where you necessarily did something wrong. This is just something that literally just comes out. It pops its little head out and it just exists. So as I said, I will definitely share a diagram for you guys. Now, I wrote my notes. Now, you guys know I'm a big note taker, okay? So I like to make sure that what I'm saying is what I'm saying and I know what I'm saying. So let's talk a little bit about vitamin deficiencies that can contribute to you having what we call alopecia areata. So number one, riboflavin or riboflavin, I could be saying that wrong. That is a vitamin deficiency that is typically involved in people who have alopecia areata. Now, you're not going to have all of these deficiencies, but these are definitely some that you can definitely encounter or that you currently have. A biotin deficiency. For those of you that don't know, biotin on the vitamin scale is B7, which is the reason why we titled our line B7 Beyond, because we knew that biotin was one of those that is a part of the B vitamin family. Also folate. Folate is another one. If you have a folate deficiency, that can also increase your chances of having issues with alopecia areata. A B12 deficiency, which we know that B12, we associate that with energy and basically being active, but a B12 deficiency can also contribute to alopecia areata. It's not uncommon, it's not unorthodox. Also, vitamin D deficiency, which is really one of the biggest ones. Vitamin D contributes to a lot of the alopecia issues that some of us are experiencing, especially within the African American community. Why? Because vitamin D, naturally, we get that from the sun. But God blessed us with something called melanin, right? So our compromise to this is most Caucasian people, they don't have melanin, so they typically are overexposed to the sun. Where for us, we have melanin, then we don't like the sun automatically because you don't want to get darker. And on top of that, our melanin blocks out those UV rays that the sun gives us that we actually really need. Vitamin D naturally can be sourced from just sunlight, but most African Americans are deficient in vitamin D. And vitamin D is one of those things that definitely affects the hair, the skin, the nails, the organs in its entirety. The vitamin D is a big part of the endocrine system. If you have a deficiency in vitamin D and you have any type of thyroid, diabetes, kidney, liver, those kinds of things, typically it's a part of the endocrine system. They're all a part of the endocrine system. So those are typically the ones where you'll notice that they are taking vitamin D as an external source to help increase or to help rid the fact that you have a deficiency in vitamin D. And it's also one of the telltales as a part of alopecia too. Not just alopecia areata, but the other alopecias as well. Okay? All right, so some things to avoid when you are dealing with alopecia areata, or you kind of have a feeling that you are dealing with it and you haven't been diagnosed by a dermatologist. I highly recommend, of course, you guys always seek the help of a dermatologist. Even after any information you got in my videos today, I'm not a doctor. I am not an MD. I'm not posing to do any of that. I just know the information, but I highly recommend you seek the advice of a practicing dermatologist, preferably one who is more relatable to you and your culture. So if we know that alopecia areata is an autoimmune disease, in so many words, and it's attacked in the body, then that means you know that inflammation comes with it. So most autoimmune diseases are accompanied by things that deal with inflammation within the body. So when you are dealing with alopecia areata, one of the things that they say to avoid is foods that are extremely inflammatory, which is easier said than done because almost everything we eat now causes inflammation because everything is ready made. Everything is microwaved, or it's starting from the growth cycle now. It's not even from the processing anymore. It's from the growth phase of the fruits and the veggies and the meats that we're eating, the different animals that we're sourcing our foods. So of course you want to attempt to avoid any inflammatory foods as much possible. Another way or another thing to avoid is stress. A lot of people do not know that stress is one of the things that literally will early onset alopecia areata. Stress is one of those things. Stress is one of the things where if it is a silent, I don't want to use the word killer, but we'll use it loosely. It's a silent partner in the body. It silently attacks organs. It silently attacks the blood. It silently attacks all your hormones. And it can diminish things within the body as well, which also happens in the hair. So stress management is definitely something that we'll highly recommend, whether it be you working out, you are doing things when you are feeling stressed to help release some of that negative energy. Recycle some of that negative energy, recycle some of that stress as best you possibly can. But stress management is definitely one of the things that I would highly recommend avoiding at any means necessary. And it doesn't mean that it's something where you won't be able to navigate life because you have so much stress, or because I have stress, I'm going to get alopecia areata. No, it's just something that can contribute, just like it can contribute to anything else, just the same, right? Okay. What else? Weight management. Weight management kind of goes hand in hand with your food. The things you put in is what you get out. So highly recommend, of course, watching your weight, doing the best you can to lead a healthier lifestyle. You do want to just kind of make sure that you are staying away from foods that are bad for your blood type, which there's books out there right now that talk about that, where there's certain foods that certain blood types should be eating and shouldn't be eating. There's certain ailments and diseases that we carry that you should not be eating certain foods as a part of that ailment to help relieve some of the symptoms of that ailment. But that also goes hand in hand with alopecia areata. Okay? All right, so let's talk now ways that you can help. So we've already said, number one, reduce your stress. Number two, if you know that you're deficient in certain vitamins, which there's lab work that you can use to get this information or to find out what you're deficient in, you need to increase it to be efficient. So vitamin D is definitely going to be a plus for you. Biotin is going to be a plus for you. B12, folate, riboflavin, or flavin, I can never say that word right. Increase those to help make the body not or no longer deficient. A lot of the vitamins you can get over the counter, or you can use things like prenatals. We have our hair, skin, and nail vitamins, which is our goddess gummies, which we're out of stock right now, but we'll be back in stock soon. Any hair, skin, and nail vitamin will also help. Multivitamin, even if you do something as simple as a multivitamin, that is absolutely amazing for you. A multivitamin can definitely help. All right, so lastly, as a part of this video, as I promised, I'm going to talk about some products that you can also utilize that will help you if you are dealing with in the realm of alopecia areata. So number one, we already know that biotin is always going to be a plus. For us, we have an actual line that's dedicated to biotin in its entirety. Our B7 Beyond collection is a biotin and volumizing collection. It is specific to having biotin liposomes, which basically is a liquid form of biotin that is topical, okay? It's not something you ingest. This is all topical treatments towards your alopecia areata, whether it be somewhat in the severe or very mild. I always recommend once you start seeing a little Pay attention to your hair. That's number one. Pay attention to your hair, because your hair is going to tell you. You know when something is missing. You know when you need something, okay? So definitely the B7 Beyond collection is going to always be a help. The good thing about our B7 Beyond collection is we have a shampoo, which is sulfate free. We have a conditioner. We have a hair mask. We also have a edge restoration cream for those of you that are dealing with alopecia, not necessarily areata, but it could be traction, and it is specific for the hairline in its entirety. This is a cream-based treatment, one-step process that you can utilize for your hairline in its entirety as an after treatment, so you do not wash it off, okay? Another product that we specifically sourced for situations like this is our Goddess Hair Repair Serum. The Goddess Hair Repair Serum is what we call our prize product. This was the product that we used to launch our entire brand. Our brand and our foundation is built on this product. We have helped over 5,000 plus women by just using our hair repair cream. Goddess hair repair cream. Oh my gosh. Goddess Hair Repair Serum. Blech. So this is an oil-based serum. And the reason why I specifically wanted to say the Goddess Hair Repair Serum is because it has 2 to 3 very active ingredients that are proven to help those who have issues with alopecia areata. Number 1, garlic oil. Number 2, onion oil. Number 3, zinc, and others. I can keep going. Biotin, niacin. All of these different minerals, all of these different nutrients that literally can be used topically to assist you with your alopecia areata and other alopecia issues as well. So I'll tell you guys a little bit about the garlic oil and onion oil. Garlic oil and onion oil are high in what we call sulfur. Sulfur as a whole, right? When you're using it topically, sulfur becomes an anti-inflammatory. It's a topical anti-inflammatory that helps to reduce hair loss and keratin loss. For those of you that don't know, the hair is made up of keratin. So hair loss and keratin loss. It is also great to help rejuvenate or restart hair growth in the areas where the growth may have just died or gone away, right? So this is why I said being proactive and catching these things ahead of time is always going to be a big help for you. So the garlic oil, the onion oil, the biotin, the niacin, zinc is another one. Zinc is amazing for people like myself or even yourself who is dealing with autoimmune issues, high blood pressure, alopecia areata, thyroid disease, lupus, diabetes, anything that affects the blood itself when it deals with the hair. It is always going to be a plus to use zinc, whether it be you are ingesting or you are using topically. Zinc is a very, very powerful mineral that I would never skip. It is amazing when it comes onto the hair, and it's also amazing to help the scalp fight infections. So the zinc, the biotin, the niacin, the garlic oil, the onion oil, all of those paired together in our Goddess Hair Repair Serum are going to be absolutely your go-tos to help relieve scalp inflammation and also help scalp infection. It's going to help you to fight off what we consider an infection to the scalp. Now, like I said, you guys, I'm not a doctor, so I don't want anybody to think that I'm sitting here diagnosing, but I'm just giving you guys the whole cold hard facts that have been proven time and time again, okay? Lastly, another product that I would recommend is our Soothe and Balance. Soothe and Balance is high in zinc as well. Zinc oxide powder is one of the minerals that we use and has proven to be worthy in the Soothe and Balance treatment, whether it just be for dry and itchy, but typically zinc is always used in dry and itchy formulas, and it also is an anti-inflammatory or helps with inflammation, being an anti-inflammatory. It also helps with abrasions on the scalp. It's one of those things where it's antibacterial properties. There's so many different things that our Soothe and Balance can actually help you with, but today we're talking about alopecia areata. So that's exactly what we're going to be using it towards, as well as the itch. It's going to help to diminish that itch. So the Soothe and Balance will definitely help you with that as well, okay? So I'm not going to overwhelm you guys with more information about alopecia areata. If anything that I'm describing or talked about in this video resonates with you, then this video was definitely for you. What I would recommend you guys is save this video, share this video with your family and friends, If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. And then, of course, comment down below and tell me, you guys, what has been your success product from Elite Hair Care USA dealing with your alopecia? I know most of you are going to say the Goddess Hair Repair Serum. I'm prepared for it. But if not, we want you guys to try it out as well. Stay tuned at the end of the video for you to get a coupon code that you can utilize for any one of our Elite Hair Care products for our first-time buyers. And then, of course, I'll see you guys in the next informational video. Peace.